Hey guys, so here we are with today's shave, and we've got about a 1.5 day growth going on. And a new soap to me. I have used this base before and it was very good. Central Texas Soaps, and today's scent is Weeknd Rodeo. It's a simple scent of warm tanned leather. Smells pretty good from the puck. I'm going to continue using the Israeli Red. Today, I believe, is the 9th shave. I've got this Vulfix Silvertip. I think it's a 377 is the model. Does it say right there? Yeah, okay, not really. Persian jar, I think, is the shape, generally speaking, of this handle. I used to think that maybe the reverse would be my preferred shape, and indeed it is very ergonomic, but you do need a little bit of extra something up here. Otherwise, if the knot is just right here, then you get a lot of suds on your fingers. This shape seems to be pretty good, keeping my fingers a little bit away from where the suds come. And so it's an interesting experiment, and just to learn that a shape I wouldn't assume would be good would actually work just fine. Today we have a razor I've used plenty of times before, the Rhodium plated Fat Boy, and it's got two colors of Rhodium in the job that was done to it. I really like it. And we'll go ahead and put the Personna, we call them Israeli Reds. On the wrapper it just says Personna Platinum Super Stainless, something like that. They are made in Israel. You can see made in Israel on the box. But on the blade it simply says Personna Platinum Chrome. So we'll put that in there. Let's see, what setting do I want to use today? Yeah, we'll just use a 3. Kind of my go-to setting with a Fat Boy and a Slim. And we will get my face wet. And warm tanned leather is pretty much exactly the scent of what I'm getting from the puck here. I'm going to shake the water out of my brush. Not a lot, not all of it, but just keep it lightly wet. This doesn't look like it's been used. Pretty cool. Pretty kind of a one-note accord, just that kind of warm leather. And let's do a 30-second load. Start at 45. Now this brush is a bit on the floppy side, but we're going to give it another chance. See how he does today. Definitely comfortable. I believe I just kind of felt it flop over too much, and so the nice soft tips didn't really work my face very much. I believe I recall it feeling kind of ropey and wiry because the shafts were really what were going on my face, was contacting my face. The soap base gave me a very good shave last time I used it, which was kind of the first time. I remember exactly the scent name from that one. I think it was a sandalwood. Had to pass it on, I believe, or at least it's in my list to pass on. Only because I think the scent was just very low key. So let's see what happens with the scent on this one. Once you feel it kind of slow down a little bit and drag, and you can look and see that you don't have a lot of wateriness, it's kind of been absorbed, then just what I do is start adding water to it. About a teaspoon, and we'll mix for a bit. Other teaspoon. So that's 2 in there. Yeah, pleasant scent. pretty low price soap, I believe $12 maybe online. It's a nice price. Especially for the quality of lather you're getting. I am a little surprised that it's not tallow. It doesn't. I think stearic acid was the only part of the recipe that could indicate some kind of tallow. But I didn't see any tallow mentioned in the on the website or on the ingredient list. So I assume it's a non-tallow formula, which is odd because it's from Texas, but you know, I guess you've got vegans in Texas too, right? In appearance, we don't have a sheen or anything, and it looks like we've got kind of some micro bubbling going on. The very tiny bubbles, like smaller than a millimeter, just around. Sometimes that happens if you add too much water. Sometimes it happens with a soap because of the way it was formulated. It was just, you know, not meant to be quite so glossy, that sort of thing. And so those types of soaps will sometimes work just fine. They just may not look as luxurious and shiny, you know. This did have some butters in it. It does have the coconut oil, but it starts with mango butter, shea butter, cocoa butter, stearic acid, coconut oil, castor oil, and it gets to water and aloe and aloe vera juice, potassium hydroxide, I think, glycerin. So, but it's not going to be one that, okay, can you start to see the bubbles on that far side there? So let's take a feel. See, yeah, it feels pretty light. I don't feel like I should keep adding water. Sometimes a dry soap will be kind of bubbly until you add the appropriate amount of water, but this is kind of feels airy. It does feel somewhat slick. It's a very light slickness, and so this could be a soap that I should have kept a little on the drier side, relatively speaking. We'll just see what happens. So let's just give it a good, make sure we get a good, nice consistency with it. And just go with it and see what happens. Get my face wet. All right, see how this feels. The tips on this brush were a little crispy when the brush was dry, before I got it wet and pre-soaked it. They were hooked, curled just a little bit, but this brush does not feel like it's a gel-tipped brush. I don't know what that means, if that means it was treated, you know, with some kind of, you know, process, or if it was, and it was just done to a small degree. I'm not exactly sure. All right, I am going to just go back in here for a couple of seconds because the lather was just feeling a bit on the airy light side. And putting in a little bit of water would have amplified that feeling. So just added a touch of soap, and it is improving it. Some people like the Vulfixes. Some people like to turn to them instead of paying the big price for the Simpsons brushes. They say they're like made at the same factory or something like that, and it may very well be true. Some say you'll hear all kinds of different stories. Some say you'll get the same brush for cheaper price. Some say it's a step down in quality, or different things. And I don't know which is true. The Simpsons are quite expensive. I tried a Simpsons in Best, and it just wasn't really all that soft. I liked the backbone. I liked that it had a medium backbone instead of being stiff. But the tips were just not soft, and I am not going to pay that much money and have the tips feel like a $15 Virginia Ching brush, Just, I pay big money when it's going to give me a feel that's different and premium and better. All right, very nice. And the cutting action here on the 1.5 day growth, this blade is doing very well in this razor. At this setting for me, it continues to be a great setting. And this blade works really well, like so many in this razor. Very minimal audio, had a nice consistent feel. It moved through the hair even at 9 uses. The blade moved through the hair easily, no tugging or anything like that. And I believe this doesn't need any more water, and so I did dab my face after I rinsed to get rid of any excess that could make the lather even more kind of light. So I had a nice movement with the razor, and so we did have a nice speedy and easy glide. But the rinse felt like there wasn't really much on my face. And some may like that quick rinsing kind of action. But I prefer a little bit more of a luxurious feel in the rinses. And that's going to be amplified by the fact that I probably have taken this lather a little wetter than I should have. But it speaks well to the soap that seems to be performing well anyway. Cold water, because this is winter time here, and so it's very soothing, bracing, refreshing. Again, it's the razor's moving very well, so it's serviceable in terms of the consistency that I made this lather, but it like I said, not all that luxurious and kind of creamy. All right. Again, I dabbed my face a little bit after the shave. And that 30 seconds, at least with this brush, is giving me about the perfect amount of lather. A little bit of margin here in the bowl. Plenty to do a 3-pass shave. And so that margin would let me do an extra pass if I felt like I needed it, or in case I botched something up. And yeah, this brush just, I may keep it around, I'm not really sure. But it's quite, I almost have to back off a little bit and not splay it quite as much as I normally do, just because it flops over so easy. And yeah, it's just kind of got that ropey, wiry feeling. Not nearly as nice as some of my others. But I did get it at a good price. So it's a good price to try it out. Even if it turned out not to be something I would want to keep, I'd be able to sell it for what I bought it for. Love that about our hobby. Just raising up my chin, keep a little tension on my neck. Light touch with the razor as always. I hold it kind of in the center of gravity. I don't grab the end, and so in that regard I don't value the long-handled razors, even though my hands are big. Because I don't want to try to get leverage. I had a little bit of tension right there, a little bit of kind of going against the grain. Probably stir up just a little bit of razor burn or irritation, but it'll go away, and maybe if it comes up, it'll go away in a few minutes. As I was going cross grain, I probably approached a little bit of an against the grain angle there, and this wasn't quite the right setup. Some blades I can do that with. Some blade razor combinations I can do that with, and some I can't. And I think my cut here has felt really smooth during the rinses. I don't feel like stubble has been left. So I think I'm going to walk away with a very nice close shave. Yeah, that's very good. Very good cut. Very happy with the results. So let's throw on some Dunshire balm from Stirling. It does smell a little bit like the Acqua di Gio from Armani that it's patterned after, but it's not. I lose perception of it pretty quickly, like maybe 10 minutes, but other people have smelled it on me later, and so I can only assume it's either that I get blind to it, or it's just so weak that I don't get it unless I don't get it to my nose, but somebody who I'm like hugging or something like that, a family member or something, is going to get it when they get really close to me. So that's what I assume. I like the Stirling balms. If you want them to come on thin, have a little bit of wetness to your face. If you don't, just kind of dab your face dry a little bit with a towel and then put them on. And they do sometimes leave a little bit of whiteness, but it absorbs in just a few minutes and you're good to go. I'm a big fan. Low cost and a big variety of scents to choose from. So, all right. Yeah, I'm really happy. Really happy with that shave. My fault, like I said. I think that I maybe added too much water to this mix. I need to make a little note to run it drier next time. And try to pay attention to those notes that I'll leave myself. The Vulfix did okay. I just have other Silvertips that I definitely prefer better. Maybe with a little bit more backbone and then softer tips. And so what that does is it keeps those tips focused at my face instead of having soft tips and splaying too wide, in which case, see, I don't get as much tip contact. I get contact with the wiry bodies of the bristles instead of the tips necessarily. So, but we'll give it some more uses throughout the coming months and just see what it transforms into, if anything. Be fun to play around with that. So I believe we did 4 teaspoons of water. Did we do 3? Because either I did 2.5 or 5.5, and so it may have actually been 2.5. I have to watch my own video back and see how many times I refilled it. Interesting. Boy, if I over wet the lather with only 2.5, that's uncommon. If I over wet the lather with 4.5, then that's more common. Anyway, there we go. Balm smells nice. The Fat Boy was a very nice handler of the Israeli Red, which does sometimes give me grief. A little bit of a razor burn or iffy feeling with some razors that I have. So it's kind of a blade that's on the edge. It's a win or lose. good-bad kind of relationship, and so as long as you remember which razors it does well in, yeah, I think the ones that it does well in, it does really well in. So it's the kind of the it's not that balanced razor that just kind of does well in a lot of that balanced blade that does well in a lot of razors. It's kind of like a feather where it does really well or it's not all that great. All right, cleanup time. And you can kind of see a little bit of the gelling, a little bit of the gathering of tips. I wouldn't say it has a gel feel, like I said, but it definitely feels softer. It feels very soft right now. It's not a super high density brush. There's room between the bristles. It feels softer right now than it did on my face, to be honest with you. So maybe what's happening is those tips, instead of that, if there's a kind of a gel factor going on, a weakening of the tips, maybe it's weakening the tips so much that you don't feel the tip. You feel on down the shaft where it gets a little thicker and it stops being so floppy in terms of the tip. I don't know. I'm just guessing here, but it feels terrific right now. But when this dries, these will be little hooked tips. Nothing wrong with that. That's just the way some brushes behave, especially ones that have been treated with some kind of bleaching or weakening agent. I will also say that the handle quality is really nice. And so for what I paid for this brush on the used market, if I don't end up liking the knot, I would actually think about yanking the knot and reusing the handle. It's got a nice gloss to it. It's got a nice weight to it. It feels like quality. It's not just a plastic type handle, so I like it. Good quality there. So we found another razor that handles the Israeli red really well. We found a few during these 9 uses. Pretty cool. I don't know necessarily if the red brings anything different to the table than some of my other favorites, like the Gillette Silver Blue or the Nasset that work in more razors. So in a sense, there may not be any reason for this to come into my den in a large quantity. But it is a blade that I would recommend people try, because like I said, if it's kind of one of those that rides the edge, then you never know if you're going to have your own razors and then try it out on each one of those and then discover that it is just wonderful for a couple of razors that you have. Or if you're a one razor person, you may discover that it's just really good in that razor. So why not grab some, right? So maybe you can pick up a sampler pack sometime if you're curious. A one tuck that has 5 blades in it, and as you can see, I'm easily getting 9 uses out of mine, and so that would give you a good many chances to try it out, see if you liked it. All right, we'll see if we keep going with the Israeli red with another razor, or if we switch to something else here in the future. But there we go. And I tried, that was working with a used a soap that I bought used. We tried the Dr. John's recently, a couple of his new acquisitions. It is still winter, so I've got that Massacre of the Innocents from Declaration Grooming. That's a wonderful winter scent. I've got I think the Mammoth Santal Noir, and maybe the Stones that I just love. So maybe one of those. Who knows what's coming next. All right, guys. Take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I hope that you have gotten something from this video. There's something here to help you out. Oh, also, hey, my friend online, Myrna 183 maybe, on Reddit, on the wet shaving subreddit, is, by the time you watch this, he may have actually either be about to shave or have already just shaved his 400th shave on, I think he's using a Gillette Silver Blue, I'm not exactly sure, Treat Platinum, I can't remember what he was using, but he is, when we were both kind of neck and neck there to hit the 365 mark, and he hit it maybe a few weeks after I did, and I think he's kept going with it. So pretty cool. If you want to tune in to that, I don't think he does videos or anything like that, but if you want to get on Reddit and cheer him on, pretty cool. All right, you guys take care. This is me, Sugar Daddy Shaves. We'll see you next time.